Did you know that 46 million Americans plan to take an RV trip in the next 12 months? 90% of recreational vehicle owners take 3 or more mini vacations every year. Welcome to the RV Destinations Podcast. If it's RV travel, we're talking about it. From campgrounds to museums to national and state parks, kayaking and hiking opportunities. One of the most fun and pleasurable things you can do is just hit the road. So be ready to be inspired. Welcome in to the RV Destinations Podcast. Now your host, President Randy Beheimer and Editor-in-Chief, Caly Beheimer.
All right, baby. I'm pretty excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
I am pretty darn excited, too. I feel like we're going to be full of hot air.
Oh, wow. Did you spend all day thinking of that?
I actually just came up with that. That's pretty darn quick.
All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about one of the most anticipated things that just happened. It just happened a few weeks ago, but we're going to take everybody out to Albuquerque and talk about the International Balloon Fiesta out in Albuquerque that happens every single year. But today, we've got some special guests on this show, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Do you want to introduce them?
I do. We have Lee and Cindy Hetherington. Hello, Lee and Cindy. How are you?
We're well, thank you. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with you, too. I'm looking sideways so I can see the tiny little image on Randy's computer that is the two of you.
So I'm glad that the viewers on YouTube are not going to see the view that you're seeing because you're looking up at the bottom of my chin.
I know. It's like...
that's like a very unflattering...
Is so unflattering. Hey, the good news is you can let him know if he has any boogies.
Right, exactly. Well, we're really excited. So Lee is part of the RVD team. We're excited to have him on the show today. Him and Cindy just got back from the Balloon Fiesta. I keep wanting to say festival.
It's a fiesta.
Fiesta.
Well, but it also says it's a festival, but the actual title is a fiesta.
The Balloon Fiesta Festival.
It's a festival of fiestas.
Did you guys have a great time? I'm sure we'll dive into all that, but you had a great time. It was worth all the effort and everything?
There was a bit of effort. There's no doubt about that. But yes, it's been a bucket list event for us and well worth all the effort and coordination. It is a bit of a fiesta, New Mexico, right? So thus the theme. But yes, what a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and I would highly encourage you, all those audio listeners that are listening on one of the podcast platforms, get out there and check out the YouTube if you're interested in this, the Balloon Fiesta, because we're going to have a lot of B-roll, rolling throughout this whole podcast. So
balloons.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you want to start up in typical fashion and do some fun facts about the Balloon Fiesta.
The Fiesta.
I'm going to say festival again
I know.
before.
You know
I
what?
keep wanting to say
it's okay, honey. It can be a fiesta.
All right, so this is courtesy of AI.
So we just did a podcast with Carrie Hanrahan and Randy used AI for the fun facts. And I have to say, AI was wrong.
It was not wrong.
It was wrong.
You just couldn't verify it.
It was wrong.
Anyway, it's the largest balloon fiesta. It's the largest hot air balloon festival in the world, attracting hundreds of balloons and thousands of spectators each year. The largest in the world. That's crazy.
Cool.
Did you know that?
Randy's looking at the two of you.
Yeah, Lee and Cindy, did you know that? Sorry.
We did know that.
We did know that. This year they celebrated 52 years.
Yep.
And it was estimated at 542 pilot registrations.
Whoa.
So approximately 542 balloons came, assuming everybody that registered showed up. And they estimate somewhere in that 800 to 900,000 visitors and participants in the event. So it is a world-renowned event. I don't remember how many countries were represented, but let's just say 15 to 20 countries. So it's quite the event.
Wow. I'm looking at these pictures and it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. We've had the honor and the privilege, Randy and I, to be on 3 hot air balloon rides now in our lives. And And it's still this incredible life-altering experience every time we do it.
But you know what? We went up with many other balloons in the air, but it's nothing like
Nothing
you see
like
the videos
this,
out there where there's 500 balloons going up the same time.
and they're boing, ba-da-doom,
Yeah, we
ba-da-doom.
went up with maybe 20 other balloons, and that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even imagine how special it is, there in Albuquerque. Now, you guys got to go up in a balloon, correct?
We did. That was kind of the pinnacle of the experience, actually, and maybe Cindy can describe that a little bit. But yes, absolutely epic.
It was different than what I thought it was going to be. And of course, you're going up with all these other balloons around. So there's a lot of the pilots having us look down to make sure that there's nobody below us and above us, because they don't have the traffic controller that airplanes do to check and make sure that you're safe. But it was very quiet, except for when they were running the burners, which that was different and than what I was expecting. And also it was warm as we got to the higher elevations, which is unique to Albuquerque, is my understanding from the pilot.
Okay.
Because the colder air currents are down below and the warmer air current is up above when the box is in operation. And that's what allows them they fly in a box. That's the unique thing about Albuquerque that all of the pilots look forward to coming to Albuquerque for.
So just a point on the box, because that could be confusing, right? In the box, we're not literally in a box, but it's this pattern that Albuquerque has become known for, and it's because of the mountain range and the dry weather that they have. They've got this prevailing winds at the surface are typically southbound, so coming from the north to the south. And so when the balloons lift off in the morning, and I don't mean to sound like an expert, but I've learned all this having been there, right? And then when they drift off to the south, and then they can raise in elevation, maybe 1,000 feet, for example, and the winds in this box then begin to carry the balloon back to the north.
Oh,
so
cool.
they take off to the south, they go up, and they can go back to the north and then come down. And therefore, they call that the box. And
really cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
In a couple of reasons, for us as riders and spectators, we see the continual kind of circulation, if you will, of the balloons themselves. And then the pilots, best case scenario, they can land back on the field, having taken off to the south and come back and land. And therefore, their chase crews stay right there, and that doesn't always work. And there was many times that the prevailing winds took them somewhere else, and that box didn't form. But that's why Albuquerque is so predictable, almost for flying balloons.
So I know the one time we went up with a lot of balloons, I asked the pilot, "Aren't you afraid of bumping into each other?" And he said, "No, we all just float at the same time at the same rate." He said sometimes, if you go higher, it might slow down, or lower, it might speed up, or vice versa. But as long as you're at the same elevation, that
They're
you
all
kind of all
moving
just
the same.
moving at the same direction. So they said they have had situations where they bumped at the top, but it's very rare that happens, because that's awesome. Now, was that your first balloon ride, both of you?
First balloon ride,
yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I have to agree with you, Cindy. The first time we went on a balloon ride, I couldn't believe how quiet it was. It was so peaceful, and it was just, and again, they hit the burner, you hear the burner, and then just pure quiet. It was incredible.
Yeah. And I likened it to going to see the Grand Canyon or something like that. It's one thing to see pictures or video footage of the event, but until you're there experiencing it yourself, you can't even take in and begin to comprehend the vastness of it and the brilliance of it.
So
Gotcha.
this is a huge event. There's, a lot of people have heard about this. How far in advance did the two of you have to plan to say, we're going to go in 2024? I mean, has this been a couple year planning, 6 months planning? Like what did you guys do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so what we've learned is that this has changed over time.
Okay.
And so you need to check and see what it's going to be. Previous to 24, they were registering people for campground and things like that a year in advance. but for 2024, they didn't open it until January. And so it was it takes place in October, the first weekend in October every year. So that's the first thing you need to find out is when that's going to open. If you're looking to camp on site, this is only if you're looking to camp on site.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They have a lottery system for the campgrounds. They're not even campgrounds. Most of it's dry camping. They have one lot that does have electric and water hookup. And they have water fills available and sewer dumps available throughout the time that you're there. But, we at that time did not have batteries in our RV, so we knew we needed an electric hookup, which was the President's compound. And so we had to be online the morning that the lottery opened. Wow. And we did some research in advance about how it worked. We read in detail the instructions. They post on the website what the instructions are for signing up for the lottery and how it will work. And it's really important to read through all of that and understand it before the lottery opens so that you know what you're signing up for.
Okay, so it's not a willy-nilly, we're getting on January 1 lottery and hope to get in. Like there's a specific way you have to do this.
Well, yes, there's the process of getting in, but we were there refreshing, right? Because it is that busy. We've heard stories of the website crashing, and that just creates chaos. It didn't do that for us. We were there, but Cindy was on one laptop, I was on the other, and I think that's a little bit of a pro tip. We didn't suspect we would draw in the lottery this year because we've heard stories that it takes 2-3 years to even be selected, right?
Wow.
That first in, for example. They have so many people trying to register for the RV sites. And the camping that Cindy referred to, lucky for us, it's all RV sites. There's no tent camping that I'm aware of. So it's really fun to participate with all the other RVers. But we did draw, and within minutes, maybe an hour or two, we knew we had a confirmation. Yeah, I believe you get 2 confirmations. We've received your request, and then the second one, a few hours later, if I recall, came and you've been selected. And so then that's the process of following through with the down payment and that type of thing to confirm your reservation.
And is this all done through their balloonfiesta.com website? Is that where the 2 of you went?
Yes.
Okay. Super comprehensive website. We used it many times. Lots of information, FAQs, that type of thing, maps, resources, what to expect, buying tickets for the different sessions, that type of thing. So yes, highly recommend that website.
And they have a variety of RV lots available to you.
Okay.
So it's not just I'm putting my name in for one lot. You're putting your name in for particular lots based on amenities, for lack of a better word, and also your time slot of when you want to be there. And so that's the other thing you need to look at is the schedule, which they'll post the schedule. And it's, to my knowledge, it's the same pretty much every year, but weekends have more going on than during the week. There's a special shapes day. So if there are particular things that you want to see, you want to look at the calendar and make sure that you're going to be there for those dates.
So when does does it officially start on like a Wednesday through Sunday? Or what are the days? What is the days that it actually runs?
Right. It runs Saturday through Saturday.
Saturday through Sunday. It's a 9-day event.
Yes. So Saturday, Sunday. And so like kind of how we planned that out, we came from Minnesota. So we had about 3 days just to get to Albuquerque area, right? And we find that we like to lay up a couple of days in advance. We found a really pretty park outside of Santa Fe, which is maybe 40 minutes from Albuquerque. And so we camped there for a couple of days and kind of acclimated. People even have recommendations because of the altitude. It's about 5,000 feet. And so just that alone, your body becomes accustomed to it. So I would recommend that to folks as well, to come in a couple of days early, especially if you've driven, 1,000 or more miles. And then that morning, Friday morning, we actually moved in again to acclimate, not coming in the day that it was open, but we even arrived a day before the event started. And that process was just as smooth as could be. We had they post that it's an 8 a.m. Start time for the morning when you can move in. And we arrived about 7:40. We were actually first in line with our fifth wheel. And right at 8 a.m., they came and greeted us. And we were first greeted by security, lots of security around, which makes all things, you feel comfortable, right?
Right, absolutely.
And then we met the campground host. And by campground, it is a parking lot. And even in the presidential lot, you're right next to each other. And yet we found that the 10-minute walk down the hill to the event itself was well worth those conditions. We had 50 amp electrical hookup and we had water. And that's the presidential lot. Is the only lot that has water and electric hookups. Now, the caveat, the other dry camping lots, they have a sag wagon that comes along and dumps, right? So for a fee, I think it's $40, you can dump. And for a fee, you can fill your freshwater tank. So even though it's dry, you're there, they have resources to extend your stay comfortably.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I'm on their website and I'm looking at all the different kind of camping options. So they do have tent camping in a particular area, which starts about $35 a night. Dry camping in the standard, dry camping in the box view, premium water electric, which is only 30 amp, VIP section, east, west, and then a north, and then the president's compound. And then I also saw, which was really cool. So for people that want to be on site and experience this, but maybe aren't campers themselves and don't have a way to do that, they do offer Camp 505 and glamping tents. So Camp 505 is they provide the tent and everything that you need for you, which I thought was pretty cool. And then the glamping tents, they have a section available with those too. So if you're like, I really want to be on site, but hey, I'm not in the RV life yet, guess what? You can still go there and experience it.
The part of the experience is being on site and having the here's the behind the scenes. The traffic can be really challenging coming in, and it's an early morning. I mean, guys, we got up at 4 a.m, right?
Yes.
To even on site to experience some of these things. So people get up at 3 a.m. that are half hour, 45 minutes away from the site, and they drive in, and it can get very congested. So it really is a luxury to be able to stay on site. We felt.
Oh, for sure.
So how long did you stay there for the Balloon Festival?
Right. So it is a weather-related event, right? And with that, the winds may blow, it may rain. So there's postponing. It's not guaranteed that the balloons will go up each morning. And with that, I'm recommending a little bit longer stay. We were there for 4 days.
Okay.
And so we moved in on Friday. We departed Tuesday morning. So we had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday morning. And that really was, we had a great experience. They happened. We got lucky. They flew every day. It wasn't always ideal conditions, but we did get enjoyment and had the experience each day.
And some of it was delayed some of the days
That's
because
true.
of the wind. So we were really glad that we had stayed a few days. And every day was different, quite frankly, because of the weather conditions, the wind conditions. The launches were different every day.
Right.
So having a few days to experience it is really important.
Yeah.
So do you? So I understand you guys have to have reservations for the RV, but what about getting into the Fiesta? Do you have to have tickets for that as well, or is that open to the public?
It is open to the public, and you do need tickets. Mm-hmm. So they call them sessions, Randy, and there's a morning session and there's an evening session. And the lineup is pretty predictable each day, and it revolves around a schedule, right? And so first thing in the morning, I believe, if I recall,
5:45 was the drone show.
5:40
light
Ooh.
show.
So the other side events that they have are epic. The drone show, like Cindy just mentioned, was I think it's the same drone show company that was on what's the
America's Got Talent.
America's Got
Oh,
Talent.
wow.
So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was really fun to be able to see it last for like 10 minutes. I mean, it's thousands of drones in the air.
Wow.
Then they have what's called the pilot meeting, and the pilot meeting is just that. They're talking to the meteorologists in the area, and what are our winds at the surface, aloft, that type of thing. Then they have the opening ceremonies, and then they have what's called the glows, and the glows are the burners going up into the balloon, and yet they're tethered to the ground, and it's just beautiful.
Lighting it all up. Yeah.
It's just epic. And then they have what's called the mass ascension.
Dawn Patrol first.
Oh yeah, Dawn Patrol, which coincides with the pilots going out. So they send up like 6. Here's what the actual conditions, and they're going up in the dark, and so you can see the balloons all lit up and they're flying. It's really fun.
Caly cut me off a little bit early. I didn't even finish my fun fact. She just like jumped into
Shoot, dang, I
different
totally
things.
forgot about it. Well, because I don't trust AI.
Well, there's a couple that I really wanted to go through. First, the aerial display, as we just alluded to. The event features stunning mass ascension where hundreds of balloons take off simultaneously, creating a breathtaking sight against the backdrops of the Sandia Mountains. I think it's Sandia Mountains. There's unique shapes. The festival is also known for the special shaped balloons, which range from animals to iconic characters, adding a whimsical element to the skies. So a lot of cool things. Launch schedule: balloons typically launch early in the morning when the winds are calmer and the air is cooler, which helps the stability and visibility of the balloons. And then, of course, the night glow, it talks a little bit about that. But they also say it's a cultural event. There's live music, food vendors, various culture activities showcasing the local New Mexican culture and cuisine. So so it sounds like, again, a big festival. I know we're calling it a fiesta, or that's the official name, but, the bands, did you get to participate in a lot of the local culture and bands and all that, or did you?
And they get some big names. Carly Pierce played there this year.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that. But did you get to participate in some of that?
We did. More of the music stuff happened after we left on that second weekend, more of the big name music. But yes, there was music going on, particularly in the evenings, and cultural stuff, not only at the Balloon Fiesta, but also in the area that was going on. Special events were brought in by the museums and cultural centers in the area, knowing that all of this people would be there to attend and experience the area too.
And part of the festival, right, that we're calling this, I understand that the vendors, the booths, the tents themselves was like a third of a mile long.
Oh,
right?
my gosh.
Yes. So there are all kinds of food, all kinds of merch that you could buy. And the airfield itself is like 80 acres. So this is a substantial area that they cover. There's several hundred balloon launch sites within that. And then lined on the east side of the field are all those food vendors and shot skis and merch and that type of thing. So you can walk up and down and very much get that festival feel. It's really fun.
So I definitely hear wear comfortable clothing, dress in layers because you're going to be there morning, noon, and night, and definitely comfortable shoes. Very, very comfy shoes.
Absolutely. And things kind of shut down in the afternoon. So there'll be events that go from 5:45 until about noon, 1 o'clock. And then things will shut down until about maybe 5 o'clock when the evening activities start. You can stay there on site. That's also the beauty of being in the campground right there, is that you can just walk back to your camper, take a little nap, do some other activities in the area, and then come back for the evening activities at the field. so it's $20 to park this year, $20 to park, and then your ticket to get in, which I think was $15 this year per session.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you would have to pay that in the morning, then you would have to pay it again in the evening if you left the field. If you stay on the field, you don't have to. But if you left the field, you would. Those tickets to get in to the Fiesta are plentiful.
Okay.
You can just buy those day of if you want to, or in advance, either one.
And the lineup, I was going to circle back on that same thought. I'm glad that you did it. So there's a morning session and the lineup that we talked about, and then there's a PM session.
Okay.
And the PM session was just slightly different. They still had the drone show. They had a glow. Prior to both of those, they have skydivers that come down, and that was really fun.
Oh,
and
cool.
they have fireworks that they shoot off from the skydivers.
Oh,
which
wow.
is, well, they have a full fireworks show, but I was thinking the skydivers themselves. One's carrying with him this giant U.S. flag, and so it's really cool. And they land right on the field. That was fun. We saw that each afternoon. Then they have the glow, and then they have the drone show again in the evening, and it's different than the AM, so that was fun. And then they have, you never want to say that something is the best, right? Because you're kind of waiting.
Right.
I think these were the best fireworks that we had ever seen. And you're focused on one area, and here they're just going crazy, and it's epic. And all of a sudden, they treat you to a sideshow of additional fireworks. So they were going off simultaneously at two different locations, and
Wow.
Yeah.
So
That is so cool.
You kind of alluded to this a minute ago, and I just want to clarify it in my mind anyway. So is there different things each night, or is it kind of just 2 days, repeat the same 2 days? You know, is there a lot of repetition to it? So if you miss the glow one night, you can catch it on Thursday night at 6, or is it just always every day is the same and they just repeat it?
It's both.
Okay.
It is repeatable, and some of the great things, right? So each morning they try to have the mass ascension on both weekends.
Every day. There is a mass ascension every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned to it, and you just called it shapes, or maybe Cindy mentioned shapes. What shapes are is those unique balloon shapes, right? There's a goofy shape, for example, the character Goofy, or there's a frog shape, or there's a barn shape, or
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
There's all kinds of these great shapes. That was specific. While they go up other times during the week, there was 1 day or 2 days that was specifically for the shapes, and people are drawn to that, right? They may come for that day specifically because of the shapes. So there's predictability in the day, and then there's some unique things. I think day 3 had competition on the field, and so balloons would go up, or they would even launch from afar, depending on what the winds were, and they'd come into the fields and they'd drop weighted ribbons, and they would try and hit the X, or they would throw a hoop over a pylon, and so the competitive and that was really fun and unique as well.
So when you made the reservations, I assume they didn't have any kind of itinerary out, so you were just kind of somewhat guessing how many days you could stay there, but you had no idea what's going to happen in those 4 days. Is that correct?
We did have an idea of what was happening because the itinerary tends to be the same year to year. And they had posted on the website the previous year's itinerary. There were no significant changes in the itinerary for 2025. So you can pretty much pick out when you want to be there for what.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the schedule of events from this year, and it started Friday, October 4th. And really everything kind of started Saturday, October 5th, but it looked like Saturday the 5th, Sunday the 6th were the big days. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were smaller days. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday were big days. And then Sunday, a small day again. So you really could say, I either want to come that first weekend and maybe into Monday, Tuesday, or come Monday, Tuesday into that following weekend. And it sounds like you're going to get a very similar experience over each weekend.
Yep.
Well,
agreed.
And agreed. And to my point earlier of how good the website, Caly, you just nailed that. And just in that little bit of interpretation, that's how clear and how good their website is, that you can pick up and you can plan based on that helpful resource.
And in fact, I'm gonna go through one of the days just so people get an idea of what everything looks like. So I picked out Friday, October 11th. This was what just happened. 4:30 a.m. starts the Kids Day goodie bag distribution. Now, I don't know what kid's going to be up at 4:30 a.m., but kudos to those who are, and they deserve those bags. 6 a.m. was Dawn Patrol. 7 a.m., the Special Shape Rodeo and Balloon Launch. And then 7:30 was the Fiesta de los Globalitos, which were remote-controlled balloons, which I think is so cool. Then they had a fly-in competition, chainsaw carving exhibition and auction. And then, like you said, the afternoon gets a little quiet, and then it picks up again in the afternoon with more chainsaw carving, team fast track skydiving, another special shape Glodio, more skydiving at night, the drone light show, and then the fireworks. I mean, so...
Wow.
I know it's a lot in one day. So you really can. And before you even mentioned, Cindy, the nap, I was like, I wonder if there was time, if I've got to get up my kids up at 4:30 a.m. to go get their little goodie bag, is there nap time? Yes, there is.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier, and I don't think you finished your thought because I think we got sidetracked, but you mentioned that you were there 4 days and you felt like you would recommend people staying longer. How much longer do you think you would recommend people staying?
So maybe I misspoke. I think 4 days was...
4 days was good.
About right.
Keeping in mind that we left on that fourth day, but your checkout time isn't until 11 or 11:30. So you have time to go and view the morning ascension and get to experience that and then get back to your camper and pull out.
Yeah.
So 4 days was excellent. My sister came, she flew in we picked her up and she stayed in the camper with us. She was only there. She got in Friday as well. So she was there for Saturday and Sunday, and then she left early Monday morning. And so she experienced 2 days worth of launches and it was a great experience.
Sure.
She got to see what she wanted to see.
Yeah.
Those first 2 days, the box that we talked about wasn't working.
The box is broke.
Off and they were just sailing away.
You're like, come back.
Experience. Yeah. So it's just different, right?
Yeah.
So 3 to 4 days is super helpful.
At the event, right? When we say that, if you want to come into Albuquerque, there's a lot to do.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
We went to a cultural center, and that was really fun. And so being there 5 or 6 days would give you a feeling that you're not missing anything necessarily at the Balloon Fiesta, and you could go and enjoy the surrounding area and see things that way. There's a whole balloon museum that we never even were able to go to, but you could take that in, right? So I think at first you want to immerse yourselves in the Balloon Fiesta itself.
Right.
And then you become relaxed a little bit. And I've seen this for 2 or 3 sessions, and that's good. We're going to go into town for this half session, but we'll come back in the evening, that type of thing. So seemed to be about right for us and allowed for any weather things that may have occurred.
So I'm sure you've talked to a lot of other RVers. Did you find a commonality as far as most people were there for 3 or 4 days, or were there a lot of people that stayed the whole event, all 9 days, or what's your kind of feel? Is it pretty much what you did, 4 days is the average?
That's a great question. We saw both. We were definitely surprised at the number of locals who were even camping.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they don't want to deal with the traffic.
Yeah.
And so they got a campsite and they had their camper there for the whole week. And we saw that some of them went home midweek and were probably coming back, would be my guess, for the weekend.
And left their camper there.
Yes, and left their camper there, their spot. So that was surprising. We did see a lot of people pull out on Monday. When we weren't leaving until Tuesday, we noticed, hey, folks are pulling out and new folks are coming in. Yeah. So it was a combination of some people coming and going like we were doing, and other people who were there for the whole week. We also ran into some people who were volunteering.
Yes.
So they were working the Balloon Fiesta. They were driving the shuttle. They were driving courtesy golf carts and staying for the whole week, working and experiencing it that way. So that was a really interesting thing as well.
Oh, cool.
And that's one thing we could highlight and really give kudos and a shout out to all the volunteers. I understand some 1,000 volunteers, and then another 2,000 volunteers are the chase group, which is the group that goes out and chases the balloon, right? And leads them to where their landing spot. But the volunteers on site were phenomenal. We had a great experience from the time we checked in with the RV to the time we left. We got to know the camp hosts. We got to know other RVers around us, and they have shuttles that take you to the different areas within the park. Those were wonderful and ran often, and rarely did we stand in line for those. A couple of minutes maybe. So they are geared up to accommodate groups like this and the size and the capacity of the crowd that comes. And it was a really good experience just from a logistical standpoint.
Oh, that's cool. I have a good one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So you guys went up in the balloon.
I wanted to save that for last. Can we save that for last?
Oh, fine.
No, I think that's the most epic part of the trip. They already said that, so I wanted to save that for last. So,
but what part of it are you saving for last? Are you saving the whole
I was literally going to
experience,
say
how to do it?
I was literally going to. This is a microcosm of our marriage right here. You know
It
that,
is.
right?
Every day.
But I was going to say that I want to save you guys going up in the balloon to last, because I think that's the most epic thing, as you said. So outside of that,
Fine.
I want you each to individually tell me your favorite part of the festival, putting aside going up in the balloon. So, Cindy, why don't we start with you? What was your favorite part of the festival or the fiesta, that you did?
So being in the President's Compound campground where we were, it sits up on a bluff that overlooks the field.
Okay.
And we could put our lawn chairs at the edge of the field and watch everything from up there without being down in the crowds, in the masses on the field. It's worth having the view from both locations. But for me, it was super fun to just be sitting up on the bluff, watching the balloons. It's even quieter up there because you're not down on the field with all of the people.
Sure.
So it's just a very serene experience. And then most of the people that we were sitting around were not first timers.
Oh.
They had been there before. And so they were more than happy to chat with you and tell you different things. We learned so much just hanging out and hearing from other people about different things about the fiesta. But just having that moment where you're just sitting there. I don't drink coffee. I was eating a bowl of oatmeal. Many people were drinking coffee and just experiencing all of those balloons. They set them off by row, and just watching the various rows go up and the colors, against the blue sky. And we saw epic sunrises and sunsets, and that part, hanging out on that bluff in the President's Compound, was for me probably the best part.
Oh,
that's
very
awesome.
cool.
All right, how about you, Lee? What are you thinking?
That's interesting to hear you say that. And I do agree with that point of view, right? We were spoiled. We had really epic RV spot there up on top of the hill. I am a coffee drinker, and I'm also a morning person. So the fact that I could get up in the dark and have this energy started was really fun. I love to immerse myself in the in-field or down in and amongst the balloons and the people, and the energy was epic. It was really fun. And so that's a whole nother vantage point that you can literally walk right up to the balloons and you can watch the LP going into through the burners and watch the flames, and they start on the ground, and they use a gas-powered fan, literally a giant fan, and they blow the air into the balloon. It's called the envelope. So the balloon part of the hot air balloon is actually called the envelope. They fill that with cold air to begin with, and then they light the burners, and that fills it up the rest of the way. You're standing right there. You're talking to the pilot. You're talking to the chase crew, taking hundreds of photos, and hours of video, literally. And the one thing that I hear often is all those photos and the video doesn't convey to other people kind of the size and proportion of the event. So for me, it was to be right down in and amongst all the people.
That's awesome.
That's so cool. I think knowing Randy and I, we'd be a mixture of both as well. I am the coffee drinker. Randy is not. He's the morning person. I am not. So yeah,
but I'm the one that's probably going to sit back and enjoy it from a distance.
Right, and I'd be like, let's go in the middle.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. For sure. I mean, there's a time for both, but in the morning, I think I'd rather be standoffish out in the back, watch them from afar.
And I'd say, if I have to get up that early, give me my coffee, and we're getting in the middle of this thing.
I think it's worth noting that even though we talked about the President's Lot, right, because that's where we were, but the North and the South and the West, we saw people in their chairs on the top of the rig, and the balloons were floating directly overhead. So
that's awesome.
There isn't a bad spot on the field, that's for sure.
Right.
All right. So
very cool.
So now
I have something leading up to it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know. What were you going to say, though?
We're such a professional show. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, obviously you're at the Balloon Fiesta. You did a balloon ride. So was that all organized through the website? Is it something you go and tap on somebody's shoulder, one of the pilots, and say,
please,
hey, here's a couple $100, put me up in the balloon? Like, how does this work?
Yes, it's
all of the above.
All of the above. That's right. It's plan in advance, budget in advance. It's an expensive proposition, if you will. I believe there's one way to have a balloon ride, and that's through the Rainbow Riders, and they are enormous balloons that can take some 10 people up at a time.
Wow.
There's a reservation system for that. We didn't go through that way ourselves, but I'm guessing that might happen weeks and months in advance, that you would want to get on that list and find out what the price ranges are. And if there are ranges, it may just be one fixed cost. And then you would be, again, weather related, you would be able to go up in the balloon. We had media credentials, right, through RV Destination Magazine. So, and that was coordinated but not guaranteed. So I was at the media tent at 4 a.m. 2 mornings in a row. And
like, pick me.
That's right. So a shout out to Tom Garrity and his group. The Garrity Group ran a wonderful media hosted event throughout. And so that was really fun. And we got selected on the second morning that we arrived and were able to fly with Mark Yoakum and his Air Rocky Top balloon and crew, and what a great experience that was.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Cindy, are you the more descriptive of the two? I know Lee's all about data and numbers and logistics. Are you the descriptive one of the marriage?
I don't know. I'm pretty concise. So.
Well, maybe what I want you to do is paint a picture, because a lot of people are listening to this. They don't have the benefit of like YouTube to see the visuals that we're putting up here, but maybe walk us through the morning and what you were feeling. I assume you got up and did a morning ride, so you had to be up there early, climbing the balloon. It's dark out still.
The sun's not even up.
Walk us through that a little bit and give us a little bit about how you're feeling. And Lee, if you want to add something too, feel free to jump in too. But just kind of walk us through that experience.
Yeah, having never done it before, I had a lot of anticipation of what is this going to be like. I don't know what this is going to feel like. And our pilot was fabulous. He was talking us through what they were doing, why they were doing it. He gave us a lot of descriptions. The other balloon rides, the Rainbow Riders, which is the official balloon ride company, that utilize, their baskets are much larger. We were with a private pilot, and so his basket was tiny. I think he could have taken one more person.
Oh, wow.
That would have maxed out his basket. And so it's tight quarters. And once we got in the basket, which that's a little bit of a challenge, there's no graceful way to get into the basket. So once we got in, and they call them the zebra. It's a person who's telling you when you can go ahead and take off. And she told us that we could go. I was like, okay, what is this going to be? It's very slow, though. I mean, it's a hot air balloon.
Right.
It doesn't move fast. So it was very calm. It was very you're just lifting off slowly. So it wasn't this sudden, oh no, experience. It wasn't like all of a sudden we were up super high. I don't have a fear of heights, and I'll let Lee speak to that for himself. But so I wasn't nervous about that. But I do wear glasses for long distance vision, and I had my cell phone in my hand, and I wish I had something to loop my cell phone around my neck, because the whole time I was like, my glasses are going to fall off and my phone is going to drop. Because you were out there. I mean, you were standing on the edge of the basket, and you were just out there suspended in air.
Yes.
And that was epic. And since we are RV destinations, there was an Airstream lot. I don't know how they got themselves together and organized, but we went over a lot, and it was all Airstreams. And that was right after we took off from the field.
Cool.
And it was so cool to see, I don't know, 75 Airstreams all right there. And we were going over top of them. That was pretty amazing. And the feeling of looking out and seeing a neighboring balloon right there next to you, and then looking down and seeing all these other balloons, and then looking up and seeing more balloons. It just, you kind of feel like a fish floating in an aquarium.
Yes.
Yep.
And experiencing all of that.
And I think,
so
Cindy,
cool.
you mentioned it earlier, and we've experienced this not in Albuquerque, but the quietness.
Yes.
You know, even with that early in the morning, nobody's really talking much. Usually,
They shouldn't be talking much. Randy has learned not to talk much to me at all in the morning.
Anyway, it's just the just pure quiet, and even the sounds of the burner here and there. I just think it's kind of cool. It's just a great experience. So
I know.
We had the pleasure of, or the blessing, we were blessed to do it out in Africa across the Serengeti, and that was a whole unique thing, seeing elephants and giraffes running below you.
Yes.
It's just such an amazing thing. I love it. I'd love to do it 100 more times.
I
before
would
I die.
too. Yeah. The first time we ever took a balloon ride, it was right before Randy proposed, and one of the things that always stuck out, one, like you said, Cindy, how quiet and peaceful it is. But we came across this field of cows, and all of them scattered but one, who just stood there looking straight up at me as I'm looking straight down at him. And I'm like, I think we're both thinking, this is the craziest thing.
Well, and we were descending, so we weren't, maybe
that far.
30, 40 feet off the ground. And he looked like aliens coming down from outer space is what this cow looked like.
Full on locked eyes with us. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm feeling the same thing you are.
One of the unique things at the Balloon Fiesta is, like I said, you can walk in and around the balloons, and people do, and people cheer when the balloon is inflated, right?
Cool.
People cheer when you lift off. So after we lift off, woohoo! Everybody's giving us the high fives from the ground and waving, and so it's a group activity that's really fun.
That's fun. And then you get the customary, and I'm assuming you did when you land, you get the glass of champagne for a successful flight.
We did, and they had a ceremony because we were first-time flyers, and as I've learned, each pilot's variation of the history of ballooning is part truth and part,
Yes.
part story, right? Yeah, and each one does it differently, but that was really fun to have a celebration once we got down on the ground as well.
That's awesome. So you've given us a lot of great tips. Are there any other tips we've missed that maybe we should let the listeners and watchers on YouTube
right,
know
that you
as
walked
far as-
away and went, ooh, we really need to remember this to share with folks?
One thing, and I don't know if this will happen every year, the Balloon Fiesta opened an additional camping lot after everything. So they do a wait list. So if you sign up, even if you don't get in, get on the wait list. It's worth it because this year, it's my understanding that they placed everyone on the wait list because sometimes people get a call and it's like, oh no, we've already made other plans. We can't go.
Okay.
People cancel. So they filled the wait list or they exhausted the wait list and then they opened an additional lot. And so even more people were able to go. So it's worth checking back to the website, even if you don't get in right away.
Oh, good.
And staying on that wait list if you're eager to go. So that was one thing that really stuck with me.
I would agree. To be patient in the process and know that you may not get selected. When I say selected, it's a lottery, right? There aren't credentials and that type of thing. It's simply getting into the lottery. But be patient during that process and don't be discouraged if you don't get a verification like Cindy said right away. There is still opportunity for you to be on site with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And while it's ideal, it sounds like to be there on site, folks keep in mind that even if, this is something you really, really, really want to do, and this is the only year you think you can get it done, you can still go if you don't happen to make the lottery to stay there on site and, camp nearby or get a hotel or Airbnb nearby as well.
There are a lot of campgrounds nearby. We ended up going to one to dump afterward before we left. And so, yes, there are campgrounds nearby. Don't think that staying on site is the only option.
Right.
There are a lot of options around.
And get into those early as well.
Yes.
And you can enjoy full hookups, right? And you can enjoy the amenities of some nice resorts. And so there's lots of accommodations. I think that's a really good point. I don't recall the number of RVers, but maybe 3,000 is what I heard. So there's a lot, but many, many more aren't staying on site and completely enjoy the experience as well.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you two both so much for coming on the show and talking about the Balloon Fiesta. We're pretty excited. I don't think our travel plans next year will happen, but we would love to go do that ourselves one
year.
day.
As I look at my husband longingly and say, hey, babe, I want to go there. And his response is, yeah, I know.
We've had 77 episodes of this podcast, and she's
I
got 77 places she wants to go. So
I do.
We will slot that in somewhere before I die.
Chop, we need to start traveling,
exactly. And then that's only just the domestic places she wants to go. She's got a whole other list for international. So
I do.
We're going to have to do like 26 trips a year in order before I die to see everything she wants to see. But
my mama told me to dream big.
Yeah, I think our wallet's going to run out of money before we hit them all. But
I'm going to start a GoFundMe page, fund my travel adventures.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate having you on the show. You want to take us out?
Yes. So thank you, Lee and Cindy, for joining us today and sharing with us, all the ins and outs of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. That just sounds incredible, and it sounds like the two of you had an amazing time. And thank you for representing RV Destinations while you guys were there.
Fun to be with you. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you both.
Yes, thank you. And we want to thank all of you out there for listening in and for watching us. Don't forget, you can see our happy, shiny faces now on YouTube. So be sure to get out there, rate, review, and subscribe to the RV Destinations podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and get out to YouTube. Hit that little subscribe button below. You want to do that. So subscribe to us. I can't talk, but subscribe to us. And that way you're always notified of new content. We have great content that comes out all the time. So kick that. I can't talk today. Hit the little button. Hit the button.
That's right.
And then be sure to get out to our website because we have a ton of great free travel information out there for you, a lot of great free resources. And if you want your own copy of the magazine, which I feel like you do, then use the code podcast20 and you're going to save 20% off any of our subscriptions. So Thank you all very, very much for joining us in here today. And until next time.
Safe travels.
Safe travels, y'all.